OST 2016. This is interviews, music reviews, opinions, and more. This is The Hotter Show.
What is up, everybody? We're rolling audio here today on episode 281 of The Hotter Show. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. I have a kick-ass episode for you here today, as I try to every single week right here on The Hotter Show. I'm sitting down with my man Matthew Layne of A Chat with Matt, also a solo artist. And we have a super fun chat. It's always a blast getting to hang out with Matt. I've been on his podcast twice now. Most recently, I was on there on February 5th. So be sure to go back and check that out. We mentioned that quite a few times in this episode, the fact that I was on there. But man, we have a blast talking about kind of his start with music in general, his journey as a musician, what he's doing now with music, and kind of what he's getting ready to do now with music, kind of launch a new thing, as well as we talk about his podcast, a little bit about his life in the music business with music management, as well as a little bit about kind of what he's been doing with COVID, how he's trying to kind of make the best of the time that he had, as well as a little bit of kind of some health stuff too, actually talking a little bit about the fact that he's getting into some yoga and some meditation and vitamins and all that. And also he talks a little bit about the project he's going to be doing with his girlfriend Alexa, who actually makes a very brief appearance about halfway through the podcast or so. She enters the room, and I don't know if she knew she was going to be on camera, but either way, she kind of chimes in a couple times with what we were talking about. It's just a really fun, laid-back chat. You know, the first half is kind of more the interview type part, whereas the rest of it's just us hanging out and having a blast. We always have so much fun. So I hope you guys enjoy listening and or watching this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it with Matt. It was a blast. Before we jump to it, I of course want to thank everybody for their support on last week's episode of the show, my chat with Carly Forget from Hot Lips. It was very well received. I had a couple really nice messages about that from new listeners. So I want to welcome them to the Hotter Show family. Hopefully you guys are checking out some older stuff. We got a lot of great content in the archives of the Hotter Show, over 5 years worth of stuff. So be sure to go back and check that out. Big shout outs again to Carly and Hot Lips. That was a really fun chat that I had with Carly, and be sure to go check them out and support them. And with that, I'm going to roll into this episode here today. My chat with Matthew Layne, solo artist, and A Chat with Matt host. Let's get into it. All right, guys, we got Matthew Layne from A Chat with Matt, also a solo artiste. He puts the grand in grandpa, ladies and gentlemen.
I didn't know how to start it, so I figured I'd hold that mug.
Matthew, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just hanging. It's good to be recording with you. It's been so long, eh?
Right? It's been at least, I mean, what time is it?
It's 6:30.
It's been a few hours.
It's been a few hours.
It's been a few hours, you know. Matt has graciously had me on his podcast twice now. So I figured it was high time that we return the favor of having Matthew Layne on the Hotter Show. And it's good, man. I'm really excited to chat with you because you have an interesting story and you have a lot of interesting things that you do. And right now I have to comment on the fact, if you guys are listening to the audio version of this and not watching the video version, you're missing out, because you got me on this side. I got like some light and like I'm just hanging out in like my shirt, my mean beard hat and shit. Nothing exciting. Whereas Matthew over there, he's got like a chain. He's got his coffee. He's got a nice microphone. He's got some lighting going on, some vibing. What do you got going on over there, man?
So the setup, and we were talking about it before this, but the lights were a gift from a friend or a former friend of my girlfriend and I. And she gave it to us for Christmas. And I had these lights like 4 years ago. And basically they're remote control kind of lights. There's a little remote or there's an iPhone app, depending on which one you get. And we got this really good one with a really sick app that's very detailed. And you can like set different color modes, and they have different, like bunch of different color settings and different speeds and stuff like that. And I usually like to record in this kind of vibe. Like when I was recently recording my new single, and it's like, it really just helps me chill out. And I'm really trying to get more meditative in life and just more relaxed, because I've been a very high strung person for a very long time. We also got a nice Prosecco at a rose candle. So Prosecco and rose.
Prosecco, that's sick. That's actually awesome. Yeah, he's got candle vibing going on over there.
I got my cider, and I mentioned this is my favorite cider. If anyone wants a good cider recommendation, my favorite is Brickwood 1904 batch. I don't know. It's like not overly sweet, but it's also like not too dry. It's like a weird middle that tastes really nice.
Yeah. Well, cheers, because I'm having myself a nice cool beer from Toronto, the Blonde Lager. Actually, a great company.
Would you like to cheers to the cider or the me being the grand and grandpa?
Let's cheers both. Screw it.
All right.
Well, cheers, buddy. Clank. Yeah, no, I love that lighting you got going on over there. And he went and put a nice chain on and his nice shirt. You're totally look like an artiste over there, man.
Well, you dressed up for me earlier, so I figured I'd do the same.
I did too. Well, because I was saying when we started, like, full disclosure, guys, if you haven't already caught on with the joke, we did my appearance on a chat with Matt earlier today. And this was the only day I knew for sure we could make it work. So I'm like, screw it, let's just do this. So you guys are hearing this now. It's been a couple of weeks since I was on Matt's podcast, but if you haven't heard it, be sure to go check it out. I'll have the link down below in this video because it was really fun. Always a blast hanging out with Matt. We got into some interesting conversation near the end of the podcast too, talking about like YouTube boxing and like a little bit of COVID talk and definitely stuff I don't normally talk about. So that was a lot of fun. But
I bring weird shit out of people, man.
But excuse me. Sorry, guys. I've been podcasting all weekend, so my throat's kind of starting to go a little bit.
I know. I said that to my girlfriend earlier. I'm like, dude, TJ's doing like 15 podcasts this weekend. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I woke up today because I did the one earlier and the one with you now. And I said to myself, oh man, it's going to be a long day. I have 2 podcasts. I have a phone call, which didn't happen. That's it.
Geez. Well, there you go. Got to rest up. Yeah, no, I did a bunch of stuff yesterday and then I did a bunch of stuff today, which is awesome. I love being busy like this for podcasting because this is I've proven to myself that my voice can hold up for a full weekend of podcasting because I've proven it can. It's just now at later on the Sunday after doing 3 podcasts today, it's like, okay, now it's starting to go. So, but I wanted to do this all and get a little ahead because I never ever am ahead. So I was like, let's get some stuff back and it's fun. But what I was going to say, it was funny, was with talking about me dressing up for your show earlier. Like, I was like, usually when I do podcasts, I'm doing it with whatever I'm wearing and I don't really think about it because I haven't done video very long, right? Like now I do video for everything when I can, right? So I'm like, I'm doing a chat with Matt again. It's a classy show. Let's dress up a little bit. I wasn't wearing this shirt. I was wearing a nicer shirt, but I was like, it's a classy show he's got over there. So let's.
Saw how I dressed this morning.
You're just like you're vibing now, and I feel kind of bad because like you're coming on my show and you're all like vibey and dressed nice, and I'm just like.
No, because the thing is, me and my girlfriend went for a drive earlier because everything's locked down. We can't go anywhere, so we just stay in the car and drive like in the country where no one is and don't get out. COVID safe.
Yes.
And we were talking about like, oh, it's been so long since we've had a reason to dress up or like just put on a bit more of an effort for clothes and just general looks. So I'm like, all right, this is my excuse. So,
it's like, oh, let's get some vibes going, man. That's what it's all about.
It's Sunday when we're recording this. Sunday's a chill day.
Absolutely so. And you're going between the coffee and the cider, and I have no idea how it doesn't taste disgusting, but I'm gonna just
honestly, they kind of cleanse each other out weirdly
really
enough.
Okay,
yeah,
all right. I went from tea to beer and that was a little weird, but
yeah,
whatever. And I have to say too, before we move on, how fantastic your beard looks in this lighting too.
Thank you.
It always looks great, but it looks especially great in this lighting.
My girlfriend actually does my beard.
Oh really?
Yeah, she trims it because I can't go to my barber.
Yeah.
Like she also did my hair too, which recently has been looking actually pretty sick.
The green and that's cool.
Yeah, let's take my
look at that. Oof.
We were actually gonna cut it tonight because she likes. She basically learned it from grooming dogs, and I'm like, I'm pretty close to that.
Yeah, pretty much a dog. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy. I don't complain.
It's funny you say that because I got the same thing happen with like my fiance's because I got the undercut shit too, right? So like I have to do the sides or else it looks really stupid really quickly. Mm-hmm. So she was doing it for me the other night and like, we have to shave our cat all the time in spots because he has like with insulin and stuff. So like she's doing it. She's just like, oh, it's kind of like shaving Simba. And I'm like, cool.
No, my girlfriend kind of said the same thing. It's like, oh, it's kind of like when I was giving my dog Sam a haircut. I'm like, about on par.
Yeah, about the same thing. Right on. Well, man, let's go back for a minute with you. When I first was made aware of you and your works, I guess technically, was way back in the day, because the Matthew Layne I knew, well, I mean, kind of knew. I don't think we ever actually like met, but the Matthew
we ran
Layne
in similar circles.
Yeah, we just never really linked up, and it was always a regret of mine, because I was like, man, like I always like loved your voice, and I always loved your work with Earthbound. So I was like, I was meant for it to happen. Oh yeah, this is like when I was on your show for the first time. For those of you who don't know, Matthew Layne, the Matthew Layne I knew was the badass frontman for a band called Earthbound. And they were, first off, I love the name Earthbound because of Earthbound, the video game. I don't know if that's where the name came from, but
yeah,
I was
it was a video game reference.
And I was like, that's a sick name for a band. And I heard the single Hell Girl, and I was like, yo, these guys have got something, man. I loved it, and saw you guys at the Battle of the Bands, and you put on a dominating performance. Someone got their nose broken in your pit. And I was like, all right, these guys are, I felt bad because I'm like,
so did I, man.
They can't win now at the thing because just they broke a rule. But I'm like,
I felt bad for whoever, if you were listening to this, whoever broke your nose that day, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, did you end up like finding out what like?
No, we didn't find out. I didn't know. I don't know if the other guys found out, but I didn't find. I just heard about it from someone.
I mean, it's funny now. Probably wasn't funny at the time because I remember because I was a judge that year.
It scared the shit out of me. I thought like, oh fuck, is someone gonna sue us?
Oh no! Can you imagine? You know, the news is like, yes, at the local Battle of the Bands contest, singer Matthew Layne from Earthbound was sued by Tommy from Tommy from Tommy's Toga podcast.
Yes, Tommy's Toga podcast.
Tommy's Toga podcast, bro.
Oh my god, yes.
That's called a reference, folks. If you don't know what we're talking about, go check out a chat with Matt episode, whatever that I was on last, whatever one it was. I have no idea. Yeah, whatever February 5th was. That's fun. But going back, where did all of that start for you with music? Like, what was some of the first music you heard? What made you want to start singing?
So it's a few things. It's first time I really listened to music, and it's the music I still consider my favorite genre, is classic rock, Beatles era, like 50s and 60s. Mm-hmm. When I started originally, and I always listened to that, and also a lot of Dylan. Like my dad played me a lot of Dylan when I was younger, and I just got into that kind of stuff. And then later on, that's when I started kind of just expanding it based on just started expanding it. Like I remember, weirdly enough, the year I started really getting deep into different genres was 2008, because it was when I was younger, because I'm a fucking fetus. I look old, but that's because I have a beard and I'm bitter. But
I have a beard and I'm bitter. The two B's, bro.
Yeah, but I remember like my parents got me a bunch. I was talking about a bunch of albums I saw on TV on commercials, and I was kind of like, okay, I like the feature songs in each of them I dig, so I'm like, I want to get the albums and listen to the whole things. And it was weirdly enough, Linkin Park live at Milton Keys or something like that. It was a live album with a DVD.
Oh wow!
Of this concert in England, Milton Keys or something like that. And it was Linkin Park, like either a year before that, so like 2007, 2006-ish, Linkin Park, like where they're really starting to like transition more into their futuristic stuff, but they're still playing a lot of the heavy shit. And I watched that DVD probably 100 times because I was just so mesmerized by the music, because I never really heard anything heavy, because I grew up as an only child. So like I didn't have any siblings, or like I didn't really see a lot of cousins, or I had cousins around the same age or something, because they were either younger than me or older than me. So I saw that. And then another album was 808s and Heartbreaks by Kanye West. That it's a bit of a left field, that one.
It's a good record. Like,
yeah, I would say, what's your opinion on that record? I always ask people this about 808s and Heartbreaks.
I mean, I'm not a Kanye West fan, but I mean, it's a cool record, and it's definitely one of his more.
Listen, future president Kanye West.
Yeah. Listen, we talked about this earlier on your
Trump
show.
Can do it, Kanye.
I want to be the greatest president of all time.
Hell yeah.
Buy my record.
Oh. But the question is, would he have time to record a record?
Oh yeah. So what else would he be doing? He's not
running the country.
Come on.
He like, yeah, it runs itself. No, he'd do what we were talking about earlier. He'd be like, "You're the smart people. I'm gonna go do stuff."
All right, guys, I'm gonna be the greatest president of all time. Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
That just reminds me of the clip from, I think it was Glastonbury or something like that, where he sang Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
And like it was that meme where like cut between Kanye and then Freddie doing it live, and this Kanye's face like pissed. And I was like, yeah.
It's just not.
That's not
good.
great.
It's not good. It's not the worst I've ever heard, but it's definitely not the best.
Yeah. And then also, I remember seeing promo for Billy Talent 2.
Ooh.
Which is, I have a tattoo of Billy Talent 2, like, because that's one of my favorite albums of all time.
What's your favorite track off it?
Fuck.
Yeah, or
Pins and Needles, Killer, Worker Bee. Honestly, like the first 7 songs.
Nice. I mean, it's a great record. Like, I'm not a humongous Billy Talent fan, but like, I mean, I remember when that record came out, and I'm like, yo, that really was what blew up for them, right? Like, it's just, you know, they did Devil in a Midnight Mass on that. No,
yes, it is. First track.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say, I was pretty sure it was. Like, I remember when that single came out, because like, I'm older than you, obviously. So like, I remember when it came out, like, it was like overnight, every kid had the Billy Talent 2 record, and I was like, who the hell is Billy Talent? Like, what? Who? I only listen to Nickelback. Who is this band? Like, I don't even know who this is. Like,
Nickelback.
Good old Nickelback.
Oh.
We don't talk shit about
Nickelback. I don't give a fuck anymore.
I do too, man. I love. There's 2 bands we have in common that like everyone shit talks that we both love. It's Nickelback and Five Finger Death Punch.
Oh, Five Finger, yes.
Because like I love Five Finger Death Punch, and everyone is just like, oh my god, only Kyle's listening to Five Finger Death Punch, and I'm like, then get me some Drywall, bro, because I love Five Finger Death Punch.
I've seen Five Finger Death Punch twice now, and it was at the same festival 2 different years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How was that show?
It's entertaining as fuck.
Yeah.
The lead singer jumped off the stage, and I was like at the barricade, but like about to crowd surf, and he came up to me and grabbed me by the back of the neck and pulled me into his face.
Yeah. And
I kind of was in shock for a bit because I was under the influence of things at the time.
So like,
so it threw me off, and I was kind of like, "Whoa, okay.
This is really trippy. Why is he yelling at me?" Depending on the song too, that could be really intimidating. Depending on,
I think it was Wrecking Ball.
Okay, so that wouldn't be as
no, it just threw me off. I'm like, "Wow, you're in my face."
Yeah, that'd be it. That's one person that like is like Ivan's one of my like my all-time favorites. Like as far as just overall as someone who writes and vocals and lyrically, like I know you said to me before that he was someone who kind of influenced you to really start singing in your stage presence as well, right?
Yeah. So when I started performing it was kind of an accident, my first technical performance, because I was a very take that initiative kind of young person. At one point now I'm just, you know me, I was talking about earlier, I don't give a shit anymore. But basically like in grade 8, it was kind of an accident. I started this like music club where you like, it's like basically a band but in bigger form kind of thing. And the first song we did, weirdly a bit of a throwback, Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl.
Oh, nice.
I don't know, I dug Morrison at the time as well, so kind of did that. And I was leading in the guitar section. I was supposed to play guitar, and I was auditioning singers, and I picked this dude, and the night before he quit.
Oof. And
so we didn't know what to do. And so I said, all right, just let me try singing the song, just because I'm like, we're desperate. We don't know what to do. And I sang it, and they're like, oh, yo, you should do it. I'm like, okay. So I did. And that's kind of where it started. So it kind of happened as a weird accident. And a weird fact about that day, the grade 8 English teacher brought in a slow cooker full of slow baked potatoes.
What? Just because?
No, I don't know. I wasn't even in her class, but like I smelled the potatoes. I'm like, yo, what's this? And I got a baked potato.
Yo, let's get some potatoes up in here.
I don't know. It was a bomb ass potato, man.
I mean, like my shop teacher used to bring in slow cooked meat, but like, whatever.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. It's funny that you started off that way, because with some vocalists, like, you know, I've heard it a ton over the years. Like where they'll be like, yeah, like I didn't start off wanting to sing and then I kind of just fell into it, you know?
Yeah. Because I don't know, someone heard me singing to myself once in grade like 4 and they said I was a shit singer. I'm like, all right, cool.
Well, I don't think you're a shit singer. So
Thank you. I think I am.
I mean, I think I'm the shits, but whatever. It's fine.
No, I told you in the messages before this, I'm just going to shit talk myself and tell me I'm going to lose. It's fine.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is when we have our fight, you know, our YouTube boxing fight, like,
yes,
you know, we're both going to lose. Like, we're both going to take a dive and it's going to be great.
Ding.
Who can take a dive first? Guys, again, go check out A Chat with
We
Matt.
did it for the money and nothing else. Woo!
Yes. The episode of Chat with Matt, February 5th, if you want to hear more about that, because that's
we went off the rails a bit.
That was crazy. That was crazy. I knew it was going to be good, but
Sunday morning, I'm tired. I haven't had coffee yet.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you doing that for me because I was like, oh, like
it gets me up and doing stuff because I'm trying to get more active right now.
Well, it's hard, man, because like kind of before we get into a little more stuff with you, like what like have you really been doing the last year and a bit? Like, well, and before you answer, like you're someone who's interesting with it because you're somebody who, you know, you were in the music industry and it really, the shutdown really did affect you greatly. But you've made the most of it with starting A Chat with Matt. So like walk me through kind of how all that started.
So the podcast kind of started because I got laid off on March 15th and it was 3 days for my birthday. So, you know, that's cool. And then kind of what happened was it started like the day started going by and I was just doing nothing because I was just kind of bummed out. Mm-hmm. And then like literally, I think it was a week before I put out I did the first episode. It was a week out and I was kind of like, fuck, I'm so bored. I need something to do. And so I'm like, oh, I miss talking to a lot of my industry buddies, like seeing them in person and stuff like that. And so I decided to start a podcast it wasn't even a podcast. It was just kind of like, I just want to hang out with someone on like Instagram Live for a bit and like just talk about random shit or talk about the industry or whatever. So I reached out to my buddy, Andy from Revive the Rose, which if you haven't had him on yet, get him on. He's fucking awesome.
They're one of those bands that like, they're on my list and I'm just like slowly working through bands and they're one of them for sure. I want to have on.
No, Andy's a fucking great dude. They just launched their beer not too long ago. They just got into NHL 21, the recent game. Oof.
Making waves.
They're killing it.
For sure.
But so I reached out to him because Andy's fucking hilarious. And I'm like, yo, let's just go on Instagram Live and talk about random, you know, the band and other shit. He's like, cool, down. So I did the promo and my old promo was like so basic because I was like, I don't really know. I haven't done photo editing of it. I'm just going to do something basic. Blank background. Okay-ish cutout photo and just very basic text. And I was kind of like, all right, that's good enough for now.
Something. Yeah.
It's a picture. Because, you know, laid off, no money. So, you know, do it yourself. Yeah. That's another style actually really develops from this photo editing and stuff like that. And also video editing. But with the podcast, it was an Instagram Live, but I didn't edit it because it was like, cool, do you just want to share this to Instagram after? I'm like, all right, cool. So start posting them. And it went on from there and it just kind of kept going because I was doing 3 days a week when I started. It was Monday, Wednesday, Friday because I literally had nothing to do. Right, I got laid off and like there's no industry work going on. Like
for sure, yeah.
I was working on a few tours and just working with managing another band. It was like kind of I had a fair bit of stuff going on, and also was working at Palladium. I'll say Palladium. I don't really care. I don't work for them anymore, but. If they have an issue with it, sorry. But basically with working there and I was just really busy working like 40, 50 hours a week and then also doing all the industry shit. And I had no time. And so when I kind of had everything stop, it made me reevaluate everything. And I got really into reading. I was reading a couple books that stood out to me was Unfuck Yourself or it was something like that.
Yeah, I think it was Unfuck. Yeah, from what I remember, Unfuck Yourself.
Yeah, I really, really liked that book. And then Essentialism by what's his name? I follow him on Instagram, but it's a book called Essentialism, and it's just basically like reprioritizing your life and not stretching yourself too thin. Because something that I constantly did was I spread myself very thin, and like took too many things on, and like it overwhelmed me, and like I get depressed, and then just because I feel like I'm fucking up everything, and like wow, this got really dark.
Well, and when you're doing so much stuff, like,
Sorry for the twist, folks.
Oh, it's all good. Like when you're doing so much stuff, it's really easy to get in that mindset because it's like, like when I was doing 3 podcasts, trying to run a network and editing another podcast and trying to work and trying to do it's like after a while, it can really start weighing on you if you're not careful. Because it's like not only are you burning the candle at both ends, but like if something goes wrong or something doesn't go exactly the way you want it, it's a domino effect, right?
No, that's exactly right. And just everything kind of falls apart, and then like things go wrong in various aspects of your life, and then everything's like crashing down around you. Like, once again, sorry to get dark, but that's kind of the way it can feel sometimes, especially with, like, for me, I deal with depression and anxiety because who doesn't, especially these days. And basically what happened was I always kind of wanted to find a level, and something I used to do when I was in college, I did a college radio show with a former friend of mine. And it was at Durham College Riot Radio, for people in the Durham region who know about the school.
Just Riot Radio.
Yeah. No, those guys are great. I owe weirdest thing. I owe like one of the head guys there edited photo of Wolverine, but instead of Hugh Jackman's face, it's Michael Cera.
Okay.
It's a weird story because we made a joke because we saw an article about Michael Cera becoming Wolverine, or just it was like a joke or something like that.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say what?
No, it wasn't real, but like it was like one of those mock articles, like Hard Times or some shit like that. And we started talking about the concept of Michael Cera, and just like, how would Michael Cera be as Iron Man? How would Michael Cera be as Batman?
I want to see him as Captain America.
Oh
no, the Hulk. I want to see him as the Hulk.
Hulk smash.
Smash.
Oh, no. What was the line from which one? Endgame? Captain America? That's America's ass?
Yeah.
Imagine Michael Cera saying that is America's ass.
I saw a quote about him. It's like, Michael Cera always looks like in all his movies, like he walked into the wrong place.
Yes.
And he's just still there. But did you ever see, just going on a tangent real quick, did you ever see This Is the End? Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah, of course.
Michael Cera in that movie was
insane.
Incredible, because he's like this like big party, and he's like, having sex with all these girls and whatever. It's like, what?
But it's like, yeah,
that's probably right. He's probably like that.
But he's also just so awkward and lovable that like, you can't hate him.
Yeah, you just love him. He's someone that like there's not a lot of actors I'd want to have on the podcast, because I'm not that interested in talking to people like that, but just he's one that I'd be like, I'd be like, okay, what makes you? Why are you so interesting and lovable and awkward? Like, let's dissect this. Like,
if I had to pick an actor, because I'm the same way. There's not a lot of actors I'd want to interview as well, because obviously we both book in the same way for podcasts, which is like we just want to talk to people that we find interesting. And that's really about it. Like, it's like, I know for you, especially, like, we're both kind of the same way, in which it's not really about the follower count. It's not really about like, it's just if this is an interesting person to talk to.
Definitely. Well, and that's what's kind of funny too, right? Like, there's so many similarities between the way that we do things with our shows. Like it's, and someone said that to me recently. They're like, oh, like you're doing like this Chat with Matt podcast. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, like, isn't he kind of your competition? What do you mean? They're like, well, you both do a music interview-ish podcast, and like he had Judgment on and you had Judgment on, and I'm like,
oh no.
And it was an awesome conversation that was totally different from the conversation I had, because we're different people. Just because we both like we both interview in the sense of like, we're asking stuff we want to know, and we're talking to people we want to talk to. That's where the similarities end. We're two very different people,
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier on my podcast, which it was back on February 5th. Go check it.
February 5th. Go check it out again.
A couple weeks back. Every time we need to find some way to always leave it back to promo.
Yeah, always.
But basically, no, we talked about how, and this kind of also between bands and artists as well. So I'll just talk about it again. But just how it's like we both kind of view things in the same way, where it's like we're not really competing, because we're just doing our own thing and focusing on like what we're doing. Like, we support each other as opposed to competing with each other. Because I always hated, and like especially now, I hate when like bands and like artists are trying to compete with other artists as opposed to just focusing on the song and developing themselves. And it's the same way as developing podcast content, just focusing on doing things and like, hey, check this out. What do you think of this? And like just bouncing off each other feedback and ideas and stuff like that.
It's so much better than, and I mean, listen, like in the past, I've been guilty of it too, where I'm like,
of course, we all definitely in the past.
Like, oh, who's this guy coming? Oh, look at this guy trying to do a podcast or whatever. Like, and
but eventually you get to a point where you're just like, I just want to do my own thing now.
Yeah, like when I saw that you were launching as a podcast, I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, we exchanged a little bit of info before, did we not? Like you were like, hey, I want to get into, I'm not betraying your trust by saying this, but like you were like, hey, I want to do audio. What should I, do you have any advice? And I was like, hell yeah, don't do what I did because I made a lot of mistakes. So do this, do this,
of course, because I knew you were hustling and I knew you were doing cool shit. And I was kind of like, all right, I'll pick this guy's brain a bit and see how to kind of get into this and try to make it as best as I can be. And then since then you've been killing it, and I'm so glad again too to say that you're getting back into video, and like it's been really cool to watch, man. It really has, like, just because it's only been barely a year that you've been doing the show, and you're already April 1st, you're killing it, man. That's awesome. That's a really funny anniversary too. I know it just was an accident because I didn't plan for it on that day. I was like, okay, 1 week from today I'm going to launch a podcast because I literally had a bunch of free time, so I could use all 7 days to get it ready and get everything going. And like I got everything done the first night because I was really excited. And I was like ready to go and just trying to figure it out as I went. And like, yeah, it's weirdly developed into something I didn't kind of expect it to be, because I thought it was just going to be like a short thing, the live streams, and then just I was going to like go back to work or some shit,
exactly. Yeah.
And then it kind of turned into something where I really enjoyed doing it. And like back to that college radio thing, I loved conversations with different people and just exchanging different things and like seeing where conversations can go. And like when I first started the podcast, it was a very formatted thing. And if you go through like the first 20-ish episodes, you'll see a consistent format. And that's because I was still trying to figure out what to go. That was more of just a, hey, what's this, with this, as opposed to now where like I don't really have a format. I just kind of start a conversation, kind of like similar to what you do, and just start learning about the person, just asking questions, delving more into things like that. And it's made my podcast, I've enjoyed it a lot more, because the reason I took a break, part of it was because I was getting exhausted of the same format. I just wanted to kind of rethink things. Mm-hmm. And that's when I came back and started doing like the newer audio with like the new intro and the theme song and all that kind of thing, and the new promo material. And then I started doing video because I was like, I really enjoyed video editing like 7 years ago when I was in high school, and I had to do a few video editing assignments. And even when I was in college, I did a video editing class. I fucking loved it. And as much as I complain about video editing, I do love it.
I'm the same, man. I'm the same. Like just even cutting the bottom and the top of it, whatever, like just getting rid of those intro and outro parts. Like sometimes for me, like that's a huge pain in the ass, but like, especially with doing this 5th year anniversary pod that I did a couple weeks ago, like that was insane. That was so much editing, but I'm like, at the end of it, I was like, you know what? It's pretty fun. There's definitely, it's a lot more work than audio, but it's like, it's still fun.
It's that satisfaction at the end when you see something like you cut together in a really nice way. That's why I've also been doing like the new teaser trailers for like the last few episodes, because I wanted to give myself more video editing work so I can like practice different things and like try to become better. Like I'm not saying I'm the best video editor ever, because like my stuff's very basic and you can tell that, but it's just because I'm figuring shit out as I go.
Yeah, you're working at it.
Yeah, I'm working at it. Like eventually it's going to get better, or I'm just going to hire a video editor because so I don't have
to
do it anymore. One of the two
things is going to happen.
If you're interested in being my video editor, please submit an application.
He will pay you in ramen.
I'll pay you. I'll pay you to be.
He'll actually pay you. Yeah, he'll actually pay you. I'm just joking. But just out of curiosity, what do you? Just out of curiosity, what are you using? Like when you do your podcast, like what? Because I'm always like talking gear and stuff. What do you use when you record your podcast? Like what do you edit on? What do you use for microphones? Like do you have kind of a set you usually use?
For the mic, it's funny enough. Bring back my girlfriend. It's my girlfriend's mic. She had like I have a few other mics, but they're not that great. Like they've deteriorated or shit like that, or I've lost them, because that's happened a few times. Who hasn't lost a mic or two?
Sure.
But basically, she had this really nice mic with an interface, and it was like a few $100 mic. So I looked more into it. I'm like, okay, this is not as common mic. It's a Samson G-Track.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And so I wasn't really familiar with the brand. So I started playing with it and trying to figure it out. And I started doing some demos on it for like, so, woo, and there it goes. You can't make this shit up, folks. It just happens naturally. Yeah. And so I started playing with the mic during the beginning of lockdown because I had a few songs I was in the process of working on that I'm now going to release this year. And it was kind of like I was playing with this and I started like tweaking with it and like really starting to get into how this mic worked. And I'm kind of like, okay, there's a few different things I can do with this mic. And so when I relaunched the podcast, it was an audio only thing for a bit because I didn't want to just immediately launch with video. I wanted to slowly ease into it. That's why I like the first 5 or 6 episodes, whatever it was just audio because I was trying to work on mixing and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm working on right now. I'm actually taking an online class.
Oh, nice.
to do like audio engineering and mixing and mastering and stuff like that. You know, basic shit. And I'll probably go to school for it maybe if I have the time. But basically, yeah. And then I want to do video. And with the video, like my camera, it's very basic. I'm saving up for a new camera. I'm literally using my iPhone XR with the good front camera. Like it's decent. Like it's fine.
I wouldn't have known you're using an iPhone if you told me you were using like I'm using the Logi HD 1080p or whatever. Like it's a decent little camera. If you didn't tell me you were using an iPhone, I wouldn't have known. That's got a great camera.
No, yeah, it's one of the newer iPhones, right? And the camera's better. Apple, if you'd like to endorse.
Apple, hit 'em up.
I have an iPad and I also have a Mac. Yeah, and for the editing, I just use a MacBook Pro. It's from like 2014. It's fucking dying though. Like I gotta get a new computer.
No.
Like you saw me posting recently about like getting a new computer, or like I've talked to a few people about getting a PC built or something like that. So
that's the way to go, man. If you can, that's the way to go.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm debating getting a custom PC just so I can have like top shit so I can edit. I was using Premiere Pro for a while, but because this computer is so old and like really starting to die, Premiere Pro can like shit out of me 50% of the time.
Yeah.
So like I'm staying up till 4 a.m. trying to export a podcast, but it keeps crashing and shit. So legit, I just used iMovie for now. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing any in-person podcasts anytime soon. So it's basic enough. I'm like, all right, it'll help me get it done quicker. And like, I can get other shit done during the week because I'm trying to do a few other things while I'm thinking like I just started doing yoga.
Nice. Well, that's cool though, right? Like it's good to do other things. Like you mentioned before we started, you're kind of trying to do a little more like meditation and things of that nature too. So it's cool.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I was talking to, who was I talking to about this? He's from Cody from Crownlands. Him and I a while back had a conversation about meditation. I was asking for advice because I was curious about it. I was starting to do research about it, but I didn't really have the time yet because I was still working and shit like that. I started getting to meditation, reading about like vitamins. This sounds like I'm not trying to sound basic or anything like that. I'm just talking. I feel like I'm sounding
taking some vitamins, and I'm pretty sure
no, legit. I started taking a lot of vitamins because like
that's good, man.
It was also for COVID reasons, like a lot of vitamin D, C. Well, what else am I taking? B12 and like
fish oil. I think I saw you say.
Yeah, no, I actually just bought my first thing of fish oil today. I'm gonna start tomorrow, and apple cider vinegar.
That's the tick. Listen, real quick. My grandfather, God rest him, lived to be shit. How old was my grandfather? I think 84. Yeah. And he had a congestive heart failure and all this stuff near the end of his life, and I swear that stuff kept my grandfather alive because he had it every day in his tea from the time he was, as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
So at least for 20 plus years. And he swore. And the one time, this is a really quick, funny story. I promise it's worth it, guys. The only time I've ever been so hungover that I literally, it was the drunkest I'd ever been. And it was really bad. And I was living at the time, I was basically like, he was in an apartment here and I was over here. So he had to share a bathroom. And like, I came home that night and I was so drunk, I had to go, like, it was like really bad. I was really sick. So the next day I had come in and was being sick again and everything. And it was the worst hangover I ever had.
Oh yeah. We all been there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he came in and he said, hey, I made you some tea. Like, it's a little cold, but like, I understand your stomach's upset. So like, just like chug it back and you'll feel better. I promise. And I was like, okay. So I chugged this tea back and immediately it was like really bad. But then snap, I felt like a new human being. And I was like, what the hell? And he just,
it's the magic of
apple cider vinegar and just turns back. And I was like, he's a wizard.
No, like I don't do the tea. I take the capsules, and they're 500
Yeah,
milligrams
yeah.
per capsule. So like I'm introducing it. I don't know. I'm still doing research. Like I'm just starting with low amounts of things, just start seeing how I feel.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Well, you don't want to drink you ever drank apple cider vinegar?
Yeah,
Not
it's
pleasant.
not great.
Not
I mean, the
pleasant.
capsule fucking tastes terrible because it tastes like apple cider vinegar, but that's why you just got to chug it back quick.
Yeah.
So I do like one of those. I do 1,000 milligrams of B12.
Nice.
Welcome to the vitamin chat. Welcome to
Yes, hello. This is Tommy's Toga podcast, and today
Tommy's
we're
Toga
talking
podcast.
talking about vitamins.
Yeah, and I do 5,000 IU's of vitamin D. Yeah,
That's good.
5,000 IU's of vitamin D, and then like 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. So like,
And
then
how long have you
starting
been
tomorrow,
doing
I'm going to start taking omega 3s. So
Oh, right on. How long have you been doing this now? Like for a couple weeks?
I've only started. I really started it mid-December.
Okay.
So like
Have
I'm
you
still
noticed
very
a
early
difference
into
at
it.
Have you noticed a difference at all yet?
Oh,
or-
significant difference. Weirdly enough, I've only done yoga 2 days, and this is going to sound complete bullshit, but I swear to God, like my day job is, I walk around a lot. I deliver for a company called Shazamazon. By Beth Bezos. That's who owns it. So basically with that job, like I'm delivering packages and getting out of the vehicle a lot, walking, stretching, and I started doing yoga. I literally did yoga 2 days, and I've been taking the vitamins for about, like a month and a half now. And like, I just feel a lot better. And just after 2 days, yoga, like I was saying to my girlfriend earlier, and it's going to sound weird as fuck, but I'm like, am I walking like standing up straighter? Like, is my posture different? And she's like, holy fuck, it is.
Because you feel better.
Yeah, sure. And I weirdly was like feeling really good. And speaking of my girlfriend, hello.
Hello.
What were you talking about?
We're vitamins.
Talking about vitamins.
We're talking about vitamins. I swear to God.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah. Hi. What was I saying? She's so beautiful. I got distracted.
You were talking about your how you literally were just talking about it, saying that you were like, am I standing up straighter? Is my posture?
Yeah, no, I was talking about it earlier with you about my posture, like just from doing 2 days of yoga and just.
Oh my God. We're telling the world this.
Yes, we're telling the world this. I'm not ashamed of what I do.
This is what we talk about here on the Hot.
I showed off my setup. I showed off the coffee with the mug.
I wasn't expecting a whole vibe.
Well, yeah, she wasn't expecting a whole vibe.
We're vibing over here.
We're vibing right now. We're just having a conversation.
I do feel kind of bad that I don't have some vibe lights. But
Yeah,
I might need to invest
just
in
a bit.
some.
Sorry, what?
I was gonna say I feel kind of bad. I don't have I don't have some vibe lights happening over here, but
One day we'll have a vibe light COVID safe party.
Oh yeah. Once I'm moved and I have my little closet, hopefully I'll set up some vibe lights. It'll be good.
Oh, perfect.
It'll be good. But the one more thing I wanted to make sure we talked about, because we haven't really touched on it yet. And you and I could talk for hours and hours and hours.
Oh,
so
I know.
Definitely you'll be back on for sure. One more quick thing about podcast stuff. Do you have, because you've had some really awesome guests. I mean, one that comes to mind for me was actually when you had Alan Cross on. Because I mean, as someone who loves music journalism and stuff a little bit, he's a freaking legend, and when you told me that he was coming on, it was after my first episode, and I was just like, man, you're going from my dumbass to Alan Cross, what the hell? But
we're 9 to 50.
Do you have obviously asking someone their favorite guest is a little weird because it might make other people feel bad, but well, thank you. Obviously, I mean,
no, legit. It depends. I have a few top people. I'm not going to say all of them, but because I'm talking to you, obviously you can tell that you were one of my favorite guests to have on, just because like we said, we're so good at bullshitting.
Yeah.
and just going off and talking about other stuff and connecting everything like that. And so I was just like, and I said that to our girlfriend earlier. I'm like, yeah, him and I are really good at just bullshitting and just talking shit.
We just have fun. Look at, again, be sure to go check out a chat with Matt from February 5th.
Always come back. And Tommy's Toga Party.
Tommy's Toga Party. That's gonna be a spinoff you and I are gonna do. Screw it.
Yes, I'm down. Tommy.
So is there a Tommy? No.
Co-produce a podcast called Tommy's Toga Party.
Yes. Oh man, but did you were saying something about did you have kind of a few episodes that, okay, let me rephrase the question. Do you have a couple episodes that you feel really were really you grew a lot as an interviewer?
I think honestly the one with you was kind of me exploring the more comfortable, kind of laid back format, kind of like what we're doing now. as opposed to, I don't know, I interview a few different ways. It depends on the person. Because like if the person's like, I don't know them that well, I kind of ease into it. I don't just immediately start talking shit. I try, you know, it's a weird middle.
It depends on the people, right? Like
it depends on the people. Like you got to go with the flow kind of thing. Like I can't talk to you the same way I talked to Alan Cross. Cause like prior to that, I never met Alan Cross. Like the first time I reached out to him cause I got his email from a buddy of mine who did the Hot Wings thing.
Oh, right on. Yeah. His, oh my gosh, what was the name of he was a great interview too. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, Greg Hatchett. Yeah.
That's what it was. Greg Hatchett. Shout out to him.
Yeah, that was it was a rough episode because it just gave me flashback to when we did that live stream.
Because you got really sick, right? You were like really messed up from that.
Yeah, no, I was, my stomach was in terrible shape, which is a huge reason why I started taking the vitamins and stuff like that, because I was dealing with like a lot of health issues like in my stomach. And so I was like, okay, I got to adjust my diet. I got to start taking vitamins. I got to start I want to start doing boxing, but obviously we can't. And we talked about that earlier.
Yeah. Again,
swing it back.
5th episode of Chat with Matt. Please go check it out. Link down below, folks. But it's funny, man. Like it's good that you're doing that all now. Like, you know, with the vitamins and trying to start taking better care of yourself now, because listen, before you know it, you'll be me 30 or heading into 30. And I mean, I don't take care of myself at all. So I'm like, now I'm kind of like, oh shit. All right, let's start eating apples and like, let's start eating some tangerines and clementines and shit. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I guess I better put down the cheeseburgers. Like, you know, let's,
yeah. I don't know. My girlfriend and I are also getting more experiments like with health cooking, but like more like she's introduced, my girlfriend is of a Greek descent.
Oh, awesome.
And not, you know, like her mom and dad were Greek, but basically she started introducing like more not Mediterranean, like what is it? Macedonian? Greek and Macedonian food. Right on. Thank God she's here just to help me.
You would have been like, I don't know.
Food, it's delicious.
You came in at the perfect time.
Yeah, perfect. That's why you're here. Thank God. I love you. So, yes, I just said that, and I'm not ashamed.
Aww.
Yeah, she's great.
What were you saying?
What was I saying? Right.
I don't know. I
go off on my own tangents. It's great.
It's okay. We have fun here. This is literally the hotter show.
Oh, food. Yeah, we start to. She's been making a lot more like Greek and Macedonian food, and like, you know, like chicken Slovaki and just like a pepper salad and just different things like that, and just like sausages done a certain way. We're trying to get like more healthier kind of stuff, but still like experiment with cooking and like try different things.
Mm-hmm. Not just having takeout and like, you know,
yeah, not just having takeout, like cooking from home, like things that are healthy but also delicious kind of thing, and like that's been helping. And seriously, the yoga, I'm gonna bring it one more time. The yoga it already made a difference.
Man, we're gonna have you on again, and you're gonna be like, yes, hello.
Here's my leg behind my head.
Yeah, I need to see that next time you're on. I need to see your leg like back up over here.
I'm too tall for that shit. Fuck that.
For sure, man. Well, before we go, I want to make sure that we touch on one more thing.
Yeah.
Because it's very important that we talk about this. As much as I've had fun just kind of shooting the shit with you, talked a little bit about the podcast. I'm sure we could go on about that for hours and hours and hours. But with your solo music, you are getting ready to drop something this year. Walk me through that a little bit.
So it's been a bit since I put out music, because I did the band thing for a few years, and that's kind of how you found out about me first. And then we, like I said, ran in similar routes, but never connected or collided, whatever it is. And then after that, I went off and did a solo acoustic thing, because I've always had a love for like folk and more alternative kind of music. And so I put out an EP with this indie label that I was signed to in Toronto, and very small, nothing. I'm not trying to flex or anything like that.
Yeah,
but,
no.
No, it was just some people like helping to run promotion, stuff like that, basic shit. And I put out the EP and like a few basic songs. It was very live, rigid, kind of like not high quality production, but like it was still interesting, I guess. I don't know. My girlfriend was talking about it earlier.
What was I talking about?
My EP, the old one.
Oh yeah.
And
see, I never heard it, so I can't comment on it. But
it's not online anymore.
Yeah, because I was looking for it earlier. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. I was just if I could find it.
I don't even have the files. I don't know where they are.
Oh no. Okay.
But basically, so I did that, and then I kind of just, after the EP, I kind of did a couple months of promo, and then I stepped away because they wanted me to come back and do a full album, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I'm not really in that place right now, and I don't really know. So I kind of used that time to start focusing more on the industry shit. And so like how old was I? I was in my third year of music business management at Durham College, because I usually mention that in other interviews I do, especially in the area. But I was in my third year of that, and I started managing a band and started developing them, and that's kind of how I started doing more shit in the industry. And yeah, where were we going with this? Sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
It's okay. You were just talking about your, kind of like you were talking a little bit about the EP, and then you started going into the industry stuff first.
Yeah, I started trailing off because there's a lot of backstory. So basically, and then I just started focusing on industry shit for a long time. And then it's legit when the pandemic kind of hit, I was already toying around with a song like the month before, like one song. The pandemic hit, I'm like, okay, I have more time to like write and figure shit out and like do creative things like the podcast, and that kind of loops that in. And I started working on these songs. I'm like, okay, these are songs that a bit more refined, a bit more personal, a bit more philosophical, because my writing style's kind of changed over like the past couple of years. And this first song, and I sent it to you, and funny enough, I just got the newest mix.
Oh, okay.
For the song today.
Spoiler alert! It's a great song, guys. I really like it.
Thank you. I'll send it to you after this. But it's very close. We're very close to finalizing it and mastering and all that kind of shit. And I'll be shooting a video and stuff like that. COVID safely. Once I can leave the house without needing to leave the house, or I don't know, I'll figure something out. But basically, I started writing these songs, and the first song that's coming out it's a song that has a very kind of dark story attached to it that I'm not really going to get into yet, because it's kind of an awkward thing to talk about.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't know if I sent you the videos from it or whatever to give you the context, but I don't remember. But basically, it has kind of a darker undertone, but it's an optimistic, like a metaphorical optimistic kind of song that's about like basically like a few years down the line, going from a dark place to a better place. And it kind of just came out that way. And I started writing things like with a simplicity, but thinking more about the story and the context as opposed to writing more direct lyrics. And I said this to you, I think I said, I'm nervous to put this out because this is a lot different from the previous shit I've done.
Yeah.
But also there's part of me that's like, I think people are going to like this a lot for
sure.
So,
yeah.
I said that earlier. Like, I just want to also put this out for me because I haven't done something like this in a while, and I've missed doing music, especially over the past couple of years. I missed like doing live shows and stuff like that. Can't do them now, but at the time, and I was kind of like doing a lot of industry shit and didn't have time. And even now, like this year, me and my girlfriend were working on an EP together, and she's going to be singing. I'm going to be doing the music, and it's a fucking great EP. Like, I'm just doing a couple singles because like I just want to put out a couple things that I'm working on. I don't have a lot going on because I don't have a lot of time, because I am working right now, working for Shazamazon and working on her stuff. And it's like, and doing the podcast, obviously that's a fucking other job and a half. Yeah. But basically it's kind of been more of I just want to put these out because I want to put more thought, and I don't want to rush things. And it's just, I'm taking it slow for the release schedule. Like, I'm not really I'm not planning to drop an album or anything like that. Yeah, I'm just kind of like, I'm gonna do a single here and then like a single probably in the fall or something like that. Ooh, spoiler. Ooh. But it depends on touring and stuff like that. I mean, to be honest, I fucking hate touring. I'm not ashamed to say it. It's just
it's not for everyone, man. It really is.
It's not for everyone. I have a weird thing. It's not like the conditions or anything. It's just when I go to places, I kind of like to spend few days in places because I like exploring the city and stuff like that, because I like checking out different venues, or I check out like different restaurants and stuff like that so I can learn more about the area. And I just like staying in a place for a few days as opposed to like going overnight somewhere else. Because like it kind of fucks up your schedule, and it fucks up like just where you are, and just you feel like you're missing out on things, because a lot of the time you're like, especially if it's like a cross Canada tour or something like that, you're not doing dates like consistently sometimes because you might have to drive a longer distance for whatever reason. But I'd rather like take my time in places because I like exploring and discovering new things about the area and stuff like that. And when I went on vacations as well, that I did the same thing because I like learning about different cultures and different food because I fucking love food. Oh my God. I thought about this random little thing because I know we're running low on time.
Oh, that's all good.
But basically I pitched this idea to my girlfriend and she thinks it's stupid, but it has potential. It's called baked baking. And basically it'd be like, once it's COVID safe, me and a guest consuming legal marijuana. And I don't know if you're monetized, but I apologize. That's why I kind of fucked up the word. You gotta be safe. So a baked baking is basically a concept where you give.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
I'm explaining it.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
It is pretty straightforward. You're baked baking,
So
but
you
like
baked
me
it,
and a
you-
guest,
you're
like
baking.
I like there's a bit more in depth in which like I want to try and get like a weed distributor on board and like try to promote marijuana that way. I don't know. It's a weird business model. I'm still trying to figure it out. And I also want to like do it with someone. I don't just want to be me by myself fucking making a sponge
you
cake.
need a co-host or something.
Yeah, exactly. I want to figure that out.
That's actually a fun idea. That could be a good time.
Yeah, I don't know. And like with my podcast recently, you're talking about like, is there podcasts that you kind of started like moving up as an interviewer or just general? And like definitely the podcast I did with Ed from like the music hall / the soon to be coming new venue in the city of Oshawa downtown. The video production on that I was very proud of because I'm teaming up with a buddy of mine who does video production, films and certain quality, and just like me doing audio mixing. Like that first episode, I apologize for that first part because it was fucked up because something wasn't connected right. But the rest of the podcast I was very happy with, and I'm looking forward to doing more of those in-person podcasts because I just love actually being in person with them, because like these are great over Zoom and stuff like that, but you get more of an energy off each other when you're in person, like social distance, obviously, or wearing masks or whatever it is. And it's a different energy when you interview in person. And I feel like I want to do more of that kind of stuff, i.e. with baked baking or something like that. Or even I might just produce it and get a couple hosts that I feel like would be better at it. I don't know yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I don't know. I just want to start exploring more video creation kind of stuff and seeing where I can go with video creation, which is why I like talked about earlier, trying to upgrade my computer and shit like that. So yeah.
Well, it's awesome, man. And I mean, I'm looking forward to the day that we can do something in person too, because I think that'll be a good time.
Well, I talked about it with you before they called for that lockdown. I talked about it with you in like November or something like that. I'm like,
yeah. That's right. We were saying about
we were talking about doing it in person, but then they're like, oh, we're going back in the lockdown. I'm like, cool.
Never mind. I'll see you in a few months.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure, man. Well, it's been great getting to have a chat with you, man. I know I could chat with you for hours, but real quick with the music, do you have anything kind of set in stone right now for release, or you're just kind of taking it day by day at this point?
I have a plan I'm aiming for mid-March.
Okay, cool.
Maybe. But like right now, I'm just kind of developing the Instagram. I'm doing these like covers, just random songs that help. And I talked about this earlier in the February 5th podcast.
February 5th, guys, chat with Matt. Check it out.
But just like working on covers of like either local band songs or just different songs in different genres, just trying to like create different versions of them and post them on Instagram just to, help develop a following, but also like explore music a bit more broadly as opposed to like sticking to basic things. Like an example was I just did a cover of, what did I do? Olivia Rodrigo's Driver's License, like right the day after it came out, because I heard it. I'm like, okay, this song's definitely a vibe. as I'm sitting in the vibe space. And I started playing with it. I'm like, okay, this is kind of a cool cover. I want to post that, and just that song is not a song I would normally go for because like mainstream. Not mainstream, but like I don't really like. That's not the music I primarily listen to. But I heard it on a podcast, or not a podcast. I heard it on a playlist. And I was listening to it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is sick. What is it? And then, that's kind of where it went. But yeah, mid-March, trying to aim for, I'm waiting for the master to come in next couple weeks, and then socially distance, figure out a video plan and aim for mid-March. But like nothing's really set in stone. It's kind of just day by day at this point.
Cool. Right on. Well, whenever that happens, we'll have to have you back on again for a chat, and we'll, play the single and all that. I think that would be a good time.
Yeah, man, I'm down.
Cool. Beautiful, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast getting to have a chat with you and checking out the vibe space and talking about vitamins and Tommy's toga party and music and the
Tommy's
podcast It's
Coming
all-
soon. Tommy's
coming
Toga
soon.
Party. That's another thing. Oh, we'll produce.
Yeah, we'll produce it. We'll find someone. It's gonna be a good time. Again,
Do I know
February
anyone
5th,
named
guys.
Tommy?
Check out
Fuck.
the podcast. We need a Tommy.
Yes, Tommy. If you're here, comment down below.
Yeah, there's
Like,
a Tommy out there that wants to do a
subscribe.
podcast. We'll coach you and everything. It'll be great.
Oh, please.
We have 6 years experience between us, guys. I mean, come on, what's not to like?
I'm not even a year yet.
5 years and some months after.
A bit. 5 years and a bit.
5 years and a bit. You know, it's there. But where can the good people find a chat with Matt if they want to check it out?
So I started doing YouTube when I relaunched the podcast for a second time, technically. And the YouTube channel it's growing a little bit, like it's very brand new, like, you know, not really a lot of subscribers, but like the videos started getting a lot more views because like the last few ones earlier January, it got a lot of hits, which is great. And so YouTube's probably where I push people the most, because I'm also going to start uploading different kinds of content there. Like I did one where it's like a Matt, basically it's called Matt Reacts, and it's just basic name.
Yes. Yeah.
Me looking at random shit and just talking about it and laughing at it or whatever. And I've only done one, but it's because I want to take my time with those and actually do stuff I'm interested in talking about, as opposed to just pushing out content to push. And also, you know, effort.
And of course, guys, I'll make sure I link that down below as well. So check it
And
out.
Instagram is my main thing, Facebook, all that shit.
Go check it out. Support him. Matt is a great podcaster. He has a fantastic show. One more time, be sure to go check out my latest episode with him. February 5th was the podcast Chat with Matt. Matt, thank you so very much, man. It's been a blast. And also thank your wonderful girlfriend for me as well for coming in.
TJ says thank you.
There.
Please tell me you
She's
heard
like,
that.
I didn't actually know.
No, she said, TJ said thank you. And she just looked at me and said, for what?
Making an appearance.
Making an appearance. For what? No problem.
I didn't say it like that.
No, you kind of said it like you're looking at me confused. No, you look at me confused. You're like, for what? I don't know.
Anyway. All right, buddy. Thank you so much, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys.
All right, gang, there you have it. My chat with Matthew Layne from A Chat with Matt, also solo artist. I hope that you guys enjoyed that chat as much as I enjoyed recording it. We had an absolute blast. It's always a good time getting to hang out with Matthew, man. We're getting to be pretty good buds, and he has a fantastic show over there, so be sure to go check out A Chat with Matt. You know, we're kind of similar in what we do. We like to just kind of hang out and just kind of vibe. That's kind of what we like to do. So if you enjoy this show, you'll definitely enjoy his. So go check out A Chat with Matt. He's had some really, really cool guests on. So be sure to go and support him, because he's been a big supporter the last few months of this podcast. So thank you very much again, Matt, my man, for coming on, as well as for your girlfriend Alexa for the appearance that she made. I will look forward to hearing what you guys do, and we'll definitely be sure to get them on whenever that project is launched, and whenever Matt launches his solo stuff. You best be sure that we will be covering it here on the Hodder Show. But before we go, I want to take a second to give a humongous shout out to my Patreon supporters, my Hodheads, for all of their support. Of course, my man Scotty D, who's been a longtime friend of mine and big time supporter of this podcast pretty much from day one. Scott, thank you so much for all of your support, my man. And as well as my man Will from Rolls Royce. If you guys don't know Rolls Royce, they are literally like one of the best punk rock bands out there. Rolls Royce, RAWLS ROYCE. Their tune Elon Take Me Home has been very relevant lately with Elon Musk's appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast. So be sure to go check them out, Rolls Royce. And Will, thank you so much, my man, for your patronage. Being a hothead, it means the world to me. If you would like to check out some of the exclusive content that I have on my Patreon, primarily the Happy Commuter podcast, which is something I've started doing again, and I'm going to be doing it weekly with some really, really fun content this week on there. Stuff about my personal musical journey with bands and things of that nature. That is something I've never talked about really on this show, and that I don't really have any desire to talk about on here, but it was a fun thing. You get tons of other stuff too as well. I've got a segment I do on there called Let's Have a Beer. That literally is how it sounds. It's me just having a beer with you guys. And as well as other behind the scenes exclusive stuff. I want to do live streams. There's so much stuff I want to do once the community has grown a little bit more. Because right now, like obviously stuff like that is tricky when there's only a couple people. Oh man, if I can get, my goal is to hit $30 a month. And if I have, what I would love is if I could get another 20 people paying $1 a month. That's it, just $1. Then that would be a bigger community. That money would be more spread out over a group of people. Like, I'm not looking for everyone to come in and give me $5 or $10 or anything like that. Obviously, if you can, right on, any amount helps. You know, at this point with the Harder Show, a lot of with what I need to do now is putting money into this to make everything better, basically, is what I have to do at this point. And I am poor. So any little amount does help there. It's not a donation thing. You guys are getting content, and as time goes on, there's going to be discounts on merch. There's going to be free merch, for some tiers, so be sure to keep it locked there. Patreon.com/The Harder Show. Check it out. It would really mean the world to me if you guys would check that out. But either way, just thank you for checking out the podcast. It seriously means the world to me. Thank you so very much. You will never understand how much I appreciate you for just checking out this and still watching and listening to this at this point, in the outro. Thank you so very much. Give a fist bump. Boom. Thank you so very much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on The Harder Show. Take it easy, guys.